But we start tonight with the sobering flip side to the caustic, bigoted allegations made against Barack Obama when he was running for president. The radical right and their enablers on the not-so-radical right argued throughout Obama's campaign for the presidency that he ought to use his middle name, that he ought to be known in America as Barack Hussein Obama, that the Muslim heritage of his father's African family, his own time living in a Muslim-majority country when he was a child, should brand him as a Muslim despite his Christian faith and thereby render him unelectable in the United States. Well, today in Cairo, President Barack Hussein Obama showed America the flip side of that failed strategy against him, turning what his opponents said was a strike against him into a resonant international American political asset.
I'm a Christian, but my father came from a Kenyan family that includes generations of Muslims. As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn and at the fall of dusk. As a young man, I worked in Chicago communities where many found dignity and peace in their Muslim faith. The Holy Quran teaches that whoever kills an innocent it is as if he has killed all mankind. Whoever saves a person, it is as if he has saved all mankind. I'm also proud to carry with me the goodwill of the American people and a greeting of peace from Muslim communities in my country. Assalamu alaikum.
Directed at a Muslim audience, the nearly hour-long address was translated into 13 languages. Our friend Richard Engel, NBC's chief foreign correspondent, watched the speech in Afghanistan and described to Nightly News Tonight the way he saw Afghans reacting to the speech.
A lot of people in Kabul and across the Islamic world simply had their mouths open when they were listening to this speech. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. They have not heard this kind of language from an American president.
And it's not just in the Muslim world. Judging from the media reaction today in the United States, the American audience for this speech appears to have been rocked back on its heels as well, which is exactly where you want an audience if you're about to hit them with some hard truths and you want to make them fall over. President Obama today spoke frankly and directly about the United States, about our closest allies, about our friends in the region, and about our enemies. He said things that American politicians almost never say in public, especially American presidents, especially while they're overseas, especially while they're in the Middle East, especially all in one speech. It was like he grabbed onto the third rail and decided he was not going to let go.
Israelis must acknowledge that just as Israel's right to exist cannot be denied, neither can Palestine's. The United States does not accept the legitimacy of continued Israeli settlements. Palestinians must abandon violence. Resistance through violence and killing is wrong, and it does not succeed. It is a sign neither of courage nor power to shoot rockets at sleeping children or to blow up old women on a bus. That's not how moral authority is claimed. That's how it is surrendered. Iraq was a war of choice that provoked strong differences in my country and around the world. In the middle of the Cold War, the United States played a role in the overthrow of a democratically elected Iranian government.
Wow. He just admitted that the U.S. overthrew the Iranian government in 1953. If you were at the state fair and this was a fireworks display, at this point you might turn to the person next to you and say, wow, can you believe that? What an incredible finale. No topping that. Time to go home. The thing is, this fireworks display was just getting started.
I'm aware that there's still some who would question or even justify the offense of 9/11. But let us be clear. Al-Qaeda killed nearly 3,000 people on that day. Al-Qaeda chose to ruthlessly murder these people, claimed credit for the attack, and even now states their determination to kill on a massive scale. These are not opinions to be debated. These are facts to be dealt with. The aspiration for a Jewish homeland is rooted in a tragic history that cannot be denied. Around the world, the Jewish people were persecuted for centuries. And anti-Semitism in Europe culminated in an unprecedented Holocaust. Denying that fact is baseless, it is ignorant, and it is hateful. Threatening Israel with destruction or repeating vile stereotypes about Jews is deeply wrong.
After the condemnation of the Holocaust deniers, President Obama announced his next stop on this overseas trip, the Buchenwald concentration camp in Germany, in case the point wasn't clear enough. But wait, there's more.
There are some who advocate for democracy only when they're out of power. Once in power, they are ruthless in suppressing the rights of others. You must maintain your power through consent, not coercion. You must respect the rights of minorities. 9/11 was an enormous trauma to our country. The fear and anger that it provoked was understandable. But in some cases, it led us to act contrary to our traditions and our ideals. I have unequivocally prohibited the use of torture by the United States, and I have ordered the prison at Guantanamo Bay closed by early next year.
For those of you keeping score at home, that would be, dude, no way. He said what? Dude, come again. Dude, did he really just say that? Yeah, 8 things that presidents never say, all in one speech. 8 different times that President Obama grabbed the third rail. The idea of a third rail in politics is that there are certain issues that politicians are afraid to touch because they will get a political jolt from which they may not recover. So they avoid these things. They say things in public differently from what they may be willing to say in private. But ultimately, if you just grab a hold of these issues, maybe they lose their ability to shock. Now that President Obama has grabbed the third rail, say 8 third rails in one speech, does that mean that these issues don't have the power to shock anymore? There weren't actually any significant new policies announced in this speech. But could this be a new start with totally new terms and presumably all new third rails? Joining us now is Dr. Zbigniew Brzezinski, former National Security Advisor for President Carter, proud father of Mika, the co-host on Morning Joe on this network. Dr. Brzezinski, it is always a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for your time.
Rachel, it's nice to be with you.
President Obama acknowledged today that the U.S. government helped overthrow the Iranian government in 1953. Has a president ever admitted to that before?
Not to my knowledge.
What do you think the implication of that is?
Remember, however, that he also mentioned in the same breath the taking of American diplomats as hostages by the Iranians.
Yes.
In effect, what he was saying was, if we're to go forward, if we're to have a normal relationship, we cannot rehash the past. Each of us has something to be apologetic about or to regret about, but let's go forward. Let's not exchange accusations. Let's see if we can structure a more normal relationship. It was a gutsy speech.
In terms of the willingness to be honest about uncomfortable truths, uncomfortable history like that, do you think that will have an effect moving forward of opening up some doors that may have been closed, either in terms of the opinion on the Arab street of what's possible with America or in dealing with specific Middle Eastern leaders?
I think this speech was a very courageous statement of his political philosophy and previewing the strategy that he'll follow. It was not, as you have already said, a policy speech. Nonetheless, by redefining what America means to the world and how America views the world and how Islam and America should view each other, I think he has laid the basis for a much more constructive, much more effective American foreign policy. So I consider this speech to be a watershed and a particularly gutsy statement by a president who laid it on the line in a way that it should have been laid on the line, and thereby undoing some of the damage inflicted on America over the last 8 years